What is up, New York Giants fans, Big Blue Nation? It's Robin Donald. This is Nerding Out Sports, and it's been a little while. We're on a little bit of a hiatus. Donald was on vacation. He was in New York, and then he was in Florida. We finally met up with Alex, Luca, Sean, Nate, the whole crew. It was a great time. But we are back, and shout out to Alex in the chat, Big Blue in the Bronx. Bill had a meeting, but thank you for popping in and commenting anyway, Bill. Always great seeing you in the chat. And Tony's here. Yo, yo, yo. What is up to the one Texans fan that we all know, Tony Clark. So, Donald, it's wild card weekend. We're here. We are in the playoffs. The New York Giants, since we last talked to everybody on here, have officially clinched the postseason spot that they were trying to get, obliterating the Indianapolis Colts in the process. And we are going to Minnesota less than 48 hours away from our first playoff game in 6 years. So before we get into all the nitty gritty, because we got a lot to talk about, how are you feeling right now as a New York Giants fan?
Well, first of all, shout out to my guy Rob here for that banging intro. That is a rocker, boy. I was a rocker. So I want everyone in the chat to give a shout out to my guy here who put that together. That's going to be a very exciting new contributor to our channel. It's certainly a fire way to start. So I just want to give you a shout out for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Second of all, playoffs, baby! We're going to the fucking playoffs. It's been 6 long years. And so, as a tradition, for every winning weekend, we have to have a drink. So,
we do.
In spirit of it being the New York Football Giants, I got my Pepsi, and it's slightly more than a medium, but it is in fact a Pepsi. So
I got some blue on this water bottle, so it's Big Blue Friday.
All right, let's do it. Celebratory drink.
Yes,
We're going to playoffs, and I had the honor of being there in person to see the Giants clinch the playoffs against the Colts. Great game, because that so happened to be the game that Daniel Jones announced his arrival to the National Football League, that he is in fact legit and he's for real. So I am going to take the opportunity now to have a little mea culpa, because finally I have seen the light. DJ is our quarterback. I'm happy to ride with DJ. And in spirit of doing so, I believe that my esteemed co-host here has a Daniel Jones jersey.
I did. I told everybody at our table last week that I was going to wait. But went on NFL Shop and I saw there was a sale. And I was like, I don't know if I can pass this up. I'm a big dude, so I had to put it in my size. There's one left. I'm like, I can't pass up this opportunity. So I don't want to stand up, but there's the top of the 8. I'll do it anyway. Here it is. Number 8, Daniel Jones. That's my quarterback. And I had to do it. I'm hoping I didn't jinx nothing, but that is what I wanted to talk about first before we get into the playoff game, because there has.
So we're both wearing our new gear because I had to go into New York and I had to get this bad boy. Even though I'm boiling my ass off at home, I gotta wear this big jacket because this was the lucky jacket that helped me clinch the playoffs for Big Blue. So I'm wearing my lucky jacket.
Yeah, it is Big Blue Friday, so we all got some blue on and we're celebrating. Tony thinks the Giants win 26-20 in overtime. That would be a heart attack, but I would take it. I certainly would take a win any way we can get it. But let's talk about Daniel Jones real quick, because there were some rumblings before the Colts game that the Giants were going to offer him and Saquon multi-year contracts. Then I think Monday, Boomer Esiason said they're close, but they're only trying to figure out if it's going to be 3 or 4 years. So my question is, Daniel Jones extension, is it the right decision? And also, how many years would you give him? I'm not going to go about money because we don't know what that's going to be, but how many years would you give Daniel Dimes Jones?
I'm giving him 3 because as good as he's been this year, I think 4 is a bit of a stretch. It's not like he was like Patrick Mahomes out there. I think 3 is a good starting point. If you need to revisit it after a year or two, If he continues to play at this level, then we can look to extend him further. There will always be opportunities to extend him. I would look for a team-friendly 3-year deal. I think that's probably fair. But this is a remarkable turnaround. The fact we're having this discussion shows the remarkable turnaround. Credit to Daboll, credit to Kafka, credit to Daniel Jones, because he took a lot of the criticism like a champion, man. He took it really well. I criticized him all last year. I didn't like what I was seeing from him at the quarterback position last year. He's done a full 180, and he's done a full 180 in my eyes too. I'm now seeing a legitimate starting quarterback at the NFL, but not just starting quarterback. I'm seeing a very decent quarterback that you can win with. And that wasn't something that I saw last year. I saw glimpses of it in his rookie year, but his decision-making made me question his future. But despite all the changes, despite all the personnel changes, despite all the coaching changes, he's always stayed very level-headed and very calm. I was going to go with that Eli Manning kind of level-headedness about him. And I think the way that he's a real bulldog on the field has earned the trust of his teammates. You know that Saquon Barkley wants to go to war with him. You know that his offensive line appreciates him. And you know that his receivers appreciate him too, because there's been a number of games this year where he was getting his ass kicked by, because we couldn't protect anyone apart from Andrew Thomas for long periods. And he'd always just get right back up there and continue to ball as much as possible, regardless of the results. Sometimes we lose, sometimes we won. But I think his teammates were like, this guy, we can go to war with this guy. This is the kind of guy that you need to build around. Saquon Barkley, in particular, has been very vocal about how much he trusts and loves DJ. So, you know what? I'm happy to ride with that. So, yeah, I give him a new contract. I'm happy to do so. And I'm excited. And it really took – well, I thought he played great against the Vikings. That's why I wasn't concerned about the loss against the Vikings. I was like, you know what? The only thing that mattered to me was DJ playing really freaking well. And it just shows that he's able to play at that level. And then the way that he played in losing efforts, as well as the winning efforts, showed me that this is a good quarterback. And the Colts game kind of just secured it for me. When we really needed to win, winning in, he carried the team. It was the DJ show. And I thought he played unbelievable. He played as perfect as you could ask for a quarterback. He did it on the ground, did it with his legs, threw some nice deep balls. He just did everything that was possibly asked for. So it was a fun game to be there. So a shout out to my guy Alex, who I share a channel with, Big Blue in the Bronx. We went together. It was great to see the G-Men triumph. Although MetLife isn't much of a stadium on the outside, it's pretty damn cool on the inside, because there's a trophy room where the 4 Super Bowl trophies are there. It was pretty freaking nice. And the tailgate was fun. There's a lot of really good people, a lot of good content creators on YouTube. It was nice to meet them all and be with them all. And it was a great time. It was a really good atmosphere, like a really positive atmosphere, like they were going to see something special. And we did. And so it was a really good day. And I was really proud to see the G-Men triumph, because it's been a long time. It's been 6 long years. And I'm really confident about the future now. So, long story short, DJ, happy to give him a 3-year deal.
Yeah, Alex here in the chat says 2 and an option. That's certainly something I can see happening as well. It allows you to possibly revisit an extension after year 1. If he plays really well again, then you can go there. Alex says he got pissed drunk in the morning. Perfect weather for a Colts game, like 55 degrees.
Yeah, it was like 60 degrees, actually. By the time game time kicked off, it was almost like 60. And yeah, Alex was pissed. As soon as I got off the bus from the Port Authority and I got to MetLife, bumped into Alex. He was like, woo! I was like, oh my God. But he sobered up in time for kickoff, so it was fine.
Oh, that's good to hear. And that game certainly was it was just everything you can ask for. Winning it didn't start perfectly, but once the Giants went down 3-0, Daniel Jones and that offense just kicked into another gear, specifically Jones. He was fantastic, and he finished the season with, I think, 22 total touchdowns, about 3,900 yards total with the passing and the running.
Yeah.
That's a fine year, and we said it
over
before the
600
season.
yards on the ground, right?
Over 700.
So 700 rounds.
Yeah. We said it before the year. He'd have to outplay his rookie year, and the Giants would probably have to win a lot of games or make the playoffs for him to be brought back. And here we are. We're in the playoffs. So in my mind, he's done everything that I've asked out of him. He showed improvement in areas that we needed him to improve in. You know, he's not looking down his first receiver anymore, and he's reading the field. The turnovers have been cut down dramatically from the last few seasons. He's not throwing picks. He's not fumbling. He's getting out of the pocket quickly. He's making smarter decisions with the football. He's getting rid of it. He's running very well, even though he doesn't have a ton of designed running play like they had in the past. And he's got a career or franchise record for rushing yards for a quarterback. So it just goes to show you that having competent coaching matters, because this is his third coach, his third head coach already, and he's only in his fourth year, his third system, and he's finally thriving. So I think it would be a disservice to the team to move away from him. Although other teams, there are a lot of other teams that need a quarterback, they might try to throw the bag at him just to secure a quarterback and not have to go to the draft. But I think the Giants know this is not, they can't let him walk and expect a rookie to come in here or some other veteran to come in here and do what Daniel Jones did. It's just, you saw him play so well with such limited resources around him. I mean, again, you talked about it ad nauseum. His first 3 weeks, his entire depth chart of receivers were wiped clean. And then he loses his left guard and his right tackle. He loses his tight end. He's throwing to practice squad players. He's turning Isaiah Hodgins into a really solid option. Darius Slayton went from being a roster cut potentially to a number one receiver for us. Not a number one receiver in the league, but a number one receiver for us. We're getting production out of Richie James, Lawrence Cager. The list goes on of who's producing right now. And I think a lot of that has to do with Daniel Jones. We have a very decent catch rate, actually, one of the better ones in the league, I think. So that can't be it's not an accident. You got to put some respect on the quarterback there, because when we ask what makes a good quarterback, he makes the people around him better. You can't tell me that Daniel Jones is not making these guys around him better. So in my mind, he's got to be extended. I said this a few weeks ago. I think he's done enough for me to bring him back for at least another year. Now, I think he's got to be back here for at least the next 3 or 4 years. I would be willing to go 4 if that's what it took, to kind of compare it to a Yankee situation. It's like if it needed to go 9 to get Judge, you do it. If it needs to go to 4, I would do it, though, just to make sure we have our guy and we can continue to build the roster around him, because we know this team still has holes. But right now, we know we have the quarterback, and that's a very, very good question mark to have wiped off the board right now.
Yeah, you've answered a lot of points there. I mean, I still think that we need to hedge our bets a little bit, and also pay attention to the fact that this is his first really good year. So I don't want to just give him the bag, but I don't think he's going to ask for that. I think he's a very loyal guy. I think he's going to come back, and I think it'll be a reasonable deal for both sides in order for there to be room in the cap in order to build around him. The biggest question for me is how we're going to deal with Saquon Barkley, and what kind of extension to expect from Saquon. But regarding Daniel Jones, I would still go. I think Alex is right there too, and an option would be ideal. I don't think he'd agree to that, so I think probably 3. But if it's opt-outable, because anything can change in the NFL. Maybe DJ struggles next year, whatever. I don't want to be in a situation where we're in quarterback hell. But you're right, man. Going into this year, and especially after the first 2 weeks of the year where he struggled in the system, it would have taken him a Herculean effort for him to be brought back, in my opinion. And he's done so. And the big difference for me was between the first half and the second half of the year. I think the first half of the year he was more of a game manager. I think Brian Dable was giving him enough to work with, but I don't think he asked him to do too much. I think that his responsibilities started to grow in the second half of the year. And that's where I started to see him putting the team on his back a little bit more, and my having more confidence that he can actually handle that. And it was towards the latter end of the year that we started to see that he can handle adversity and put the team on his back when required. And the best example was the Vikings game, and then finally this Colts game, where he really just looked really comfortable in the system. And I think that's why I'm excited for next year with him. I think a further offseason of him growing within the offense, and then we'll add some receivers in the draft, hopefully go into free agency and upgrade the wide receiver room further, probably get him better protection in the interior offensive line. And I feel pretty good that this team is going to be locked and loaded for next year, for hopefully an even better year. But we still got a playoff game to talk about, which is very, very exciting. So,
yes, let's talk about it, because that is obviously the big thing we want to talk about. Obviously, the quarterback stuff is huge because that's the most important position on a football team. But this football team is in the playoffs, man. We're going to Minnesota. We took them to the limit. We came this close, took a 61-yard field goal and some giant miscues for them to beat us, but they did beat us. And the Giants got a chance at redemption this Sunday afternoon in Minnesota. So let's just start with the keys to the game. What is your first key to a Giant victory this Sunday on the road in Minnesota?
Okay, so there's three. One, we have the advantage on defense because we got the 31st ranked defense. So we've got that advantage, in my opinion. We've got a better defense. I think our defensive front is elite, and I think our secondary is going to be better now that McKinney and I believe Adoree Jackson is going to be ready to rock and roll. So also, the fact that Landon Collins had a big game against the Colts means that I trust him to have an even better game coming into this game against the Vikings. I think there's some confidence now. And one positive about the fact that although we lost in the final week of the year was our backups played pretty damn well against the Eagle Ones, so that if called upon, guys like McLeod, I think will be fairly able to deal with extended responsibility if required. So I feel pretty good about our defense. I think our defensive front will cause problems. So that's number one in our favor. I believe that our defense is better than their defense. 2, turnovers. Kirk Cousins turns the ball over. He's a good quarterback, but he's a good quarterback in the pocket. So it's tied into number one. If our defensive front can penetrate big Dex, sexy Dexy in the interior, then you got the edge Aziz, and you've got Ward, and then you've got, of course, Kayvon. I feel pretty good that you can get him out of the pocket. And when he's running, he's not the same quarterback. When he's under pressure, he's not the same quarterback. And he turns the ball over. Daniel Jones, conversely, has not turned the ball over this year. He's got a very good record this year in terms of turnovers. So I feel pretty good that that's an advantage in our favor. So turnovers and defensive line is in our favor. So that's 2. And now 3. I think that the Giants offensively can cause some problems because, as I say, they're the 31st ranked defense. So I think Saquon Barkley. I don't think they've got an answer to Saquon. Like, how are they going to stop Saquon Barkley? I think that he can cause some problems on the ground. And then the way I would do it would be I think this particular tactic has worked the last few weeks, where we pass on first down and then ask Saquon to take the short yardage on second or third down in order to get that first down. I think I think the pass will set up the run. I think there should be some play action mixed in there. But I would still ask Saquon Barkley to dominate this game. And I don't think they're going to stop them. I mean, I love Danielle Hunter. Love him. He's an absolute beast. But apart from that, I'm not overly concerned about their defense. I think their defense is pretty weak. And as you say, they're 31st. As I say, they're 31st ranked. So I think we can cause problems there. So those are the three things I do. I think on the ground, we should have an upgrade. I think in terms of pass rush, I think we've got an upgrade. And I think in terms of turnovers, I think we've got an upgrade too. Those are the three factors for me. So don't turn the ball over. Pressure Kirk Cousins. And then ask Saquon Barkley to dominate with a little bits of play action mixed in and Daniel Jones to pick them apart when asked. I think those three things, which we actually saw in that game, that we very unfortunately lost. I think we only lost due to just some silly mistakes, which I don't think we're going to make this time. I feel pretty good that we can win this game.
Those are all great points. And before I go get into some comments, Alex brings up a very important point. No injury report. Everybody is healthy. When was the last time we said that about a Giants game? Biggest game in 6 years for this franchise, and everybody's ready to go. That's impressive. Tony has 5 sacks for the Giants. I'll take it. But if we can get 5 sacks, I think we got a really good chance to win. Giants, you got to pick this game. 3 missed opportunities. Yeah, Flott dropped one. By the way, he's been playing a lot better lately. Cordell Flott he had a really good game against the Eagles. He's been getting steadily better. He still needs to put on a little bit of weight if he wants to be a boundary corner. But for right now, he's more tuned for the inside in the slot, Flott in the slot. But I've been saying since we drafted him, fear the Flott.
It's been better.
Fear the Flott. He's coming. My boy is coming. And Tony says, Evan Neal's time for a turnover. He's still on that. You missed your chance at the money. So, I mean, if he gets the turnover, then fantastic. But my keys to the game. I agree with you about the pressure because that's what we did. We know Cook is going to get his. We know Jefferson is going to get his. We couldn't stop them. I think it'll be a little bit better this time because we'll have Jackson, but how healthy is he? We can't expect him to be shut down his first game back. He's missed like 8 games or whatever. It's been 8 weeks. And he's going to be going up against Justin Jefferson, who's if not the best receiver in football. He's going to get his. Cook is going to get his big runs. That happened against us a few weeks ago, and we still were able to find ways to stop them because we brought pressure. When do the Giants win in the playoffs? When they get pressure. Our front four has been playing very, very well. Azeez Ojulari, when he's been out there, has been unstoppable, and Kayvon Thibodeau has been every single week getting better and better at getting pressure, and he's becoming just an absolute force out there, and he's starting to get to the quarterback more. So
he's a beast, man. This season turned around when he started to get sacks and when he started to impact the game. Just look at the Redskins game. Well, Redskins, Commanders, Commandos, Communists, whatever you want to call them. Kayvon handled all their names, and reminded them who the big star on the show was that game, Kayvon. And Kayvon's been getting better and better. That sack against the Colts, I mean, who could blame him for celebrating like that? So my guy, I'm rocking with Kayvon, man. He's an elite pass rusher, and we got that in our favor. I'm very excited about what our defensive front can do. Also, although Leo hasn't had a particularly good year statistically, and he's been injury prone, and he's been injured most of the year, it is statistically proven that Sexy Dexy is much better with Leo beside him, because Leo can attract that pressure and Dex can go and finish it off. They are a partnership. So when the two of them are on the field together, Sexy Dexy is a much, much better player. So I think that's another thing to keep an eye out for in this game too. As I say, Leo's had a particularly great year in any real facet of the game. Obviously, we've not had a great time of stopping the run at all this year, but he does attract double teams, and he can get his way to the quarterback, and his pressures allow Sexy Dexy to finish it off. So I like the two of them together. So I think that's something to keep an eye on too.
Yeah, All-Pro Sexy Dexy, by the way. Second team All-Pro, him and Andrew Thomas. So
my guy.
Congratulations are in order to one of the best interior linemen in football and the best offensive tackle in football. I will not die from that hill. He should be first team All-Pro, but it is what it is. He's on that list at least. He's second team. I'll take it. But point number two, key number two, I got to agree with you about the run game, but I think they need to let Daniel Jones do his thing again. He has been tearing it up, and the offense has really gotten it going, even though it's been a lot of bootlegs, a lot of play actions, but the passing game has been the real killer for our offense up until the last couple of weeks. We haven't been able to really pass the ball. Did pretty well against Washington, really good against Minnesota, and then when he had to throw the football, Daniel Jones did whatever he wanted to against the Colts. So I think we need to let Daniel Jones kind of control this game. As big as Saquon is, we can get him involved. Of course, you're going to get him involved with Saquon Barkley. Maybe use him in the receiving game a little bit. But Daniel Jones has been kind of playing at this really high level that you don't want to go away from it. Now, if the Vikings are ready for it out of the gate, maybe they game plan for Jones early, and that could open things up for Saquon, because a lot of teams just stack the box and they go, let's stop Saquon. Let's let Jones beat us. But now that Jones is showing the ability to, like, all right, well, now I'm going to have to beat you. You want me to beat you? I'm going to do it. Maybe that can open things up for Saquon. So I think early on you have to kind of test them and see if Daniel Jones is going to be able to take the game. I want the ball in Nate's hand. I want the quarterback to be able to take this game over. We saw when Eli got that opportunity. I'm not saying we're going to go on a Super Bowl run, but when Eli had the ball in his hands in the playoffs, despite not having a great regular season in 2007, he turned it up. So we got to see if Daniel Jones is ready to come out there and give him an opportunity. That's my second key, is let Danny dime. I'm going to keep saying it.
Let Danny dime? I'm good with that.
Let Danny dime. And number three, don't drop interceptions, because we dropped 2 in the last game. Take advantage of every opportunity. Carl Banks said it, resilient, not opportunistic. Be opportunistic. If an opportunity is presented, if you can get a pick, a fumble, if the ball's on the ground, pick it up. If you get a pick, don't drop it. You have to be perfect if you want to win this game. I'm not going to downplay the Vikings at all. You don't win 13 games by accident, even though a lot of them are one-score games. So are ours. A lot of our wins, I think all but one, are one-score games. So you have to play perfect. You have to be perfect, basically, in every aspect. So if an opportunity comes a knocking, you got to take advantage of it. And that goes for both sides of the ball. If you're in the red zone, punch it in. That's one thing we're very good at, getting in the red zone and scoring touchdowns, not field goals. If you can get a pick, don't drop it, fumble, whatever it takes. Opportunity comes knocking, you got to take advantage of it, because that's how you win in the postseason. And even if we don't win, if we play a sound football game and this game comes down to the wire, I can hang my head high. I'll be disappointed, of course, if we lose. But if this team fights from start to finish and say, man, we could have had that, much like we did in the last game, even though there were mistakes, I think we can be proud of this team, as we have been all season long. But they have to be perfect. They have to be pristine, and they have to be ready to play. And I believe Daboll and these boys are going to have them ready to go.
Well, you're right. They have to play a near perfect game. Although I listed the ways in which we can win the game, we also have to be cognizant of the fact that Dalvin Cook's a monster. He's not been much of an impact against us. He wasn't an impact to 14 carries, 64 yards the previous game. It wasn't that much of an impact against us, but he is an impact. He's a phenomenal running back, one of the best in the league. So Jefferson, for me, is a generational talent at a receiver. I don't really care who you put on there. He's going to dominate. He's going to get his. He's like LeBron James. He's going to get 35. You know, he's going to get his points. He's going to get his numbers. So it's a little scary. So another thing that we have to pay attention to is they're at home, and their quarterback rating at home is so much better than it is on the road. Their quarterback rating at home, Kirk Cousins, is 99.5. On the road is 85. So they are a significantly better passing team at home. And in the shootout scenario, I think a shootout is in the Vikings' favor rather than the Giants' favor. The Giants have never really been an offense this year where they're a shootout team. They're just not. They're a team of ball control and protect the football and incrementally get down the field kind of a team. The Vikings are a big play offense. Dalvin Cook can burst through. They've got Jefferson who gets like 170, 180 yards a game. So I think that in order for the Giants to win, they need to control the clock because I don't want to be in a shootout position. So that's a thing to pay attention to. So if we're looking at the things that we can beat them with, there's a lot of scenarios in which we lose. What is something that we need to pay attention to, Rob?
You brought up time of possession. I think that's very big because you mentioned how much the Vikings offense is big play, and the Giants have, I think, the worst in terms of explosive plays this year in total offense. So they're drastically different. The Vikings, they can hit you with one big play. We saw it happen to us a few times. Obviously, we know Justin Jefferson's going to get his. That's their big playmaker on the receiving game. And, of course, Dalvin Cook can hit a home run anytime he takes the ball. He can go from a 2-yard loss to a 25-yard gain, just like that. So we are a very old school offense. We have these. We can have these long methodical drives, and if it ends in 3 or 7, but that's going to be the key. Is you got to keep their offense off the field as much as you possibly can, because if they're having these, if they're going down the field and scoring, and we're getting short 3 and outs, the game could be away from us real quick because they have that ability. We saw it happen against the Colts. They just came back from the largest deficit in history. You don't do that without an explosive offense. So what we did the first time without Jackson and McKinney, I think we can do this, have the same approach and expect to be a little bit better, at least with Jackson out there and having some help with McKinney. I think we can be a little more confident that this defense can do what it did last time. We should be able to control the clock on offense as well because, as you mentioned, their defense is not very good. You got to be able to control that clock. So I'm looking at time of possession. If we can dominate the clock, something that we've been pretty good at this year as well, I got a lot of confidence that we will walk out of this game with the W.
I think they can. I think the Giants can win this game, but yeah, it needs to be ball control football, and we need to rush the passer. Those are the two ways in which we do it, in my opinion. But somehow they need to really shut down Jefferson. That's not going to be an easy job.
No, it won't be. Alex says need to play press coverage and rely on the front four. Yeah, it's got to be. We know Wink's going to bring the blitzes. That's one thing he will never shy away from. We know that. Mm-hmm. We knew that about him. And now that he's got a little bit more help in that secondary, expect the blitzes to be heavy. Will we see some guys, because you mentioned it earlier, the 2s and 3s played really well against Philly's 1s. And a guy like Jarrad Davis actually had a pretty good game. If you really look at his tape, he had a couple of blunders, but he actually had a pretty solid day after all. He had about 10 tackles, a couple for a loss. He had a sack. Maybe he gets some action out there. You mentioned Landon Collins earlier. Maybe we'll see a lot. We should see a guys that we didn't have for that last game. So Jackson, McKinney, Davis. It's going to be on a lot of these guys that the Vikings were not able to see last time, maybe to step up. And if that secondary is better, here comes that front four. So it is going to be based on that front four, but you got to get them off the field quickly. Because if you let them just bang, bang, bang down the field whenever they want, it's going to be all she wrote, and it's not going to be a very fun experience. So again, I said it a few times already, perfection. You have to be perfect, basically. Maybe not all the way, but you have to be right there if you want to win this football game. It has to be perfect.
I think they have to double Jefferson.
I would think so too.
What would you say to that?
Yeah, he's the one guy that I mean, I know they still have Thielen. They got some guys that can beat you, but well, I guess they'll test it out early on. Maybe they'll have Jackson on him one-on-one. If he gets beat, then they're going to get him some help, whether that's Julian Love or if it's McKinney. But I think early on they're going to have Jackson go with them one-on-one, and they'll go from there. But that might be risky because you're putting yourself at risk there to falling behind early if they get the ball first, whatever it may be. So, but I do think you got to trust Adoree'. He's your number one corner. We've seen our secondary without him get toasted a few times. I like Moreau as a number 2. I feel a lot more confident with him on whoever their 2 is than him on Jefferson. And I like Cordell. Yeah, so I think that we're gonna see Jackson take him one-on-one early on. And if he has success, they're not gonna shy away from it. But if he gets beat early on, because the Vikings are gonna try to find him as early as possible, they are going to go to Justin Jefferson because that's how their offense moves the football.
You may want to just have Adoree' Jackson just stick with him like glue, and then maybe the safety to come in and support on occasion. You could see that. But Hawkinson, man, like the previous game, he balled out against the Giants. He had like 12 or 13 catches. It was a career high for him. So that's another key as well. Hawkinson, you can't forget about Hawkinson. That was a good trade from them.
Amazing trade.
And we've never really had any linebackers. We've got a terrible linebacker core. So that's another thing. It's not just Jefferson. They've got Hawkinson, who's an absolute monster, big play tight end. So you do need to put somebody on him. Alex suggests McKinney or McLeod on Hawkinson. Definitely agree on that. I think McKinney most likely. And Landon Collins will have a big role to play, I think, both in terms of rushing the passer and also getting in the passing lanes, jumping the routes, and maybe getting an interception just like he did in the Colts game.
It's going to be all hands on deck, but the players that have been playing well, so you expect to see a lot more Landon Collins. Jackson says he's good to go. I expect to see him out there from play 1 till the final play. McKinney's out there ready to go. Our starters are going to be ready, but it's going to be, you're going to get your top game from your big players. Like the front 4, we know Jackson's our guy, McKinney, Love, but I'm looking to see out of like that secondary group, right? Is it Moreau? Is it Cordell Flott? Maybe Darnay Holmes, although I don't know about him. He probably got to have a holding call at some point in the game, but who else steps up? Because again, it's going to be all hands on deck. And there's 11 men on the defense for a reason. So who in that kind of secondary group of players that aren't the studs of our defense, who can step up? Because a lot of the times in the playoffs, it's one of those players that makes a big play unexpectedly that kind of turns the tide in the game or puts you from potentially losing to maybe getting a W or get you closer. So I'm looking at a guy like Moreau or a guy like Cordell Flott. Can he get the big play? If Jackson's doing his thing against Jefferson and he gets some help with it, fine. Let's see those other guys because Flott's been playing better. He almost had a pick in the last game. Can he do something like that again that can potentially put us in a position to take over and win that game? I'm looking at that secondary group to really step up in this one.
My guy, Jihad Ward, he's my guy to keep an eye out on because at the end of the day, this game's going to be won or lost on our pass rush. If we're not able to rush the passer, if we're not able to penetrate, and we're not able to hurry Cousins, then we're not going to win this game. So it all comes down to our pass rush. And so if you're asking me what of our secondary group, I'd say it's Jihad Ward because every single game I see Jihad Ward do something special for the Giants. Every single game this year, I've seen him do something, even if it's 1 or 2 plays a game, I see him to do something a little special. So I see it again on Sunday. I'm keeping an eye on Jihad Ward. I'd like to see him get a sack or a really good pressure to maybe force a turnover.
Yeah, I'm. If I had to pick somebody from that edge rushing group, I would like to see Jihad Ward get it because his celebration is going to be nuts, and he's all over the place when it comes to social media. The guy's an absolute warrior. I love him. I'm glad he's part of our team, and I hope he's back with us next year as well. But I mean, I'm excited, man. I'm really excited. First playoff game in 6 years, and we're going to see who steps up. We're going to see who makes the big play. But let's get into the actual predictions, shall we?
Okay.
We're doing it all year. We've been doing it all season long. So before we get into our final score, we'll save that for the end. Daniel Jones, we'll start with number 8, Mr. Dimes. How many yards does he finish with? Touchdowns, turnovers? Donald, I'll turn to you first.
Okay. So the Vikings tend to give up around 400 yards a game. So with that in mind, I'm expecting Daniel Jones to have well over 300 all-purpose yards. I'm thinking 360 all-purpose yards for Daniel Jones.
Wow.
I'm going. So that would be, for instance, maybe 280 in the air and the rest on the ground, something like that. I think he's going to have a big day. I think there will be room for him. I think there will be room for him on the ground. I think he can leg it out, and I think Saquon Barkley will do the rest. But yeah, I think 360 all-purpose. So I would say 280 in the air, and that would be 80 in the ground, something like that.
Now, how many touchdowns?
2 passing touchdowns.
Okay. I like it. Look, if that's the stat line from Daniel Jones, we have a chance to win that game. A very good chance to win that game, if that's what he's doing. So I would take that in a heartbeat. Tony says 270 total yards, a pick, and 2 TDs. That's around what I was thinking. Alex here has 245 passing, 40 rushing, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. So he's got 285 total. I think he's going to eclipse 300 total. I don't know how many passing necessarily, but I'm going to go 310 total. I think he's going to have 2 touchdowns, and I will say he's going to have a turnover. I think he'll probably have a fumble. I don't know if he's going to throw another pick, but I think 1 turnover because the Vikings can take the ball away. They did it to us last time. They got a solid pass rush. I think that 1 turnover might be happening here in this one. So that's my stat line for DJ.
I can see that.
Move on to number 26. Will he run wild? Will he not? Saquon Barkley. What is old 2-6 going? I'm going to say, I'll start this one off. All purpose, I think he's able to get 105. I'll go 105. And I think he's going to have a receiving touchdown. I don't know if he gets one on the ground. I think he's going to get a pass from DJ. I can see that happening.
Yep, I say 80 yards in the ground, 30 yards in the air. So that's like 310, and I think he'll have 1 rushing touchdown. I think Saquon's going to have a big day.
This Tony here, 70 yards rushing, nothing big. It's not big. The Orioles off season. I'm kidding, Tony. I'm kidding. I love you.
Or the Texans.
Well, their off season started early, Mr. Number 2 pick. We'll wait for Alex. Alex will get his Saquon prediction in there. But who is our leading receiver in this game?
Isaiah Hodgins has been my guy in the latter part of the year. I think he's our most reliable receiver now. I think Slayton's going to be our big play guy, but I think in terms of volume, I think it'll be Isaiah Hodgins. So give me Isaiah Hodgins.
Okay. Tony says he's picking the Giants. I got to do it to you, Tony. It's tradition at this point. You're going Hodgins. Man. It leaves me 2 options. Some would say Kenny Golladay, but he's got his 1 touchdown. He's going to ride off in the sunset. I'll go Richie James. I think Richie James could have a big day. He's been stepping up a lot lately, along with Hodgins. I think Richie James could be in for a pretty big afternoon. Tony says Hodgins will get the game winner in OT.
Oh my God. If we win the game in overtime with a touchdown, it will be chaos on this channel.
It will
be chaos. I'm pouring Pepsi over my head. Pepsi, not just water. It was water when we drafted Kayvon. I'm upgrading to Pepsi all over my freaking head if we win the game in overtime and a thriller. I might even do it if we win anyway, but certainly
Just make sure you're not
an
wearing that jacket.
Overtime thriller massacre. It's going to be insane.
Look, if we win the game, I'll do the sexy Dexy dance on stream. I'll do his sack celebration on stream. There, you have it. If we win this game,
What is the sexy Dexy dance?
I'm not going to do it now because it could potentially jinx us. But he like moves his arms around a lot. And he gets like real low. So because I'm so short, it might look funny. I don't know. If we win, then you're going to get the sexy
on Snow Angel.
Yeah. Tony wants to get you all sticky. So let's move on to the next prediction. How many sacks for the Giants defense? Tony earlier said 5. I like that number, but I don't think it's going to be that. I think we can get close. So I'll go right 1 under. I'm going to take 4.
I was going to take 4 as well. We have to rush the passer in order to win the game, but it doesn't have to be sack totals.
Right. Alex also said 4.
It has to be pressures. So give me 3, but I think it's going to be 4. But give me 3. I think that as long as one of them turns into a forced fumble, something like that in our favor, which I think we can do, then I'd be delighted. It's not just sack totals, just pressure, pressure, pressure. Have Kirk Cousins on the run. He's not the same quarterback. Give him a free, easy pocket, he will kill you. So we have to pressure him.
Pressure, pressure, pressure is key. Now, how many turnovers and who gets the first?
How many turnovers for the Giants or the Vikings?
Or how many takeaways do the Giants have?
How many takeaways?
If any.
I think give me 2. I think 1 forced fumble, 1 interception. If we get that, I think we'll all be dancing after the end of the game.
Who do you have getting the first?
Give me a Kayvon Thibodeau forced fumble.
I love it. If Kayvon's doing that, then man, oh man, it's going to be a fun day. Alex says Xavier McKinney interception, 2 turnovers in Big Blue's favor. I'm going to say we get 1. I think we're going to get a couple of big hits on Cousins. I don't know if he's got fumbleitis or not, but I think we're due to get a pick. And he's making up for it. My boy Cordell Flott, he's getting a pick in this game.
I was going to say that. I could see him doing something like that. Maybe late in the game when they're chasing a touchdown, they're down 7, they're going to air it out, and maybe Cordell Flott will get under it. I would
lose. I might pour something over myself if Cordell Flott comes through with that pick because I've been defending him a lot. I've been pro Flott. I've been saying that hashtag fear the Flott since we took him. People are laughing at me. I'm so happy to see him stepping up. And I think a lot of it has to do with Wink Martindale's defense, which goes back to something we talked about earlier with the coaching. The staff has been incredible. They're getting production out of guys that have started off really slow. I mean, Flott looked terrible at first. He got hurt. Looked like he was benched. And he's been having to play with Jackson's being injured, and he's stepping up little by little. He's getting better. I'm excited to see him play in year 2. He's got to put on a little bulk, and I think he can be potentially I'm not going to say he's going to be great. He's not going to be Sauce Gardner or nothing, who, by the way, first team All-Pro. Congratulations to Sauce Gardner. That dude is insane. Absolutely lockdown. But I think because the Giants need secondary help, if Flott can be someone that we can rely on, just a solid number 2 moving forward, great. But if he can be that slot corner, that's fine too. I'm very happy with his improvement. Tony says, everyone tune back in on Sunday. Donald gets sticky from we're not calling the game. I'm going to actually be watching it. My stepfather happens to be a Vikings fan, so this is war. So we're going.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
you know someone who's a Viking fan in Florida?
I know. Well, he's originally. I don't know the exact story why he's a Viking fan, but I know he's a Viking fan, and he has been. It's not like he's jumping the bandwagon. He's been riding with them through the bad years. So this is war. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Alex says Flott's been good over the last few weeks. He's more reliable than Darnay. Darnay Holmes is only reliable for getting a holding call. That's about it. That's all he does.
Yeah.
He's good for one holding call per game at least. And he might get more if he's feeling happy. I don't know. But Darnay Holmes, I think
I wouldn't be surprised if Landon Collins maybe gets a pick. I could see Landon Collins getting a pick, just like the Colts game. And because I think he played pretty darn well in that game. I think he's maybe announced his re-arrival as a Giant.
I'm so glad he's playing this way for us again because I loved him when we got him. I was so thrilled when we took him in 2015. And the year he had in 2016, he was phenomenal. It was one of the best years I've seen from a Giant defensive player that wasn't an edge rusher / defensive lineman. And he was just really good. And then I think he got hurt in 2017. He had a pretty solid year. Then he left because the Giants didn't want to pay him. And then the whole Odell trade to replace him with Peppers. And I never wanted to see him go. And the fact that we didn't trade him to get anything for him, it's a whole fucking story. But I'm just really glad that he's back and he's playing well. And I think it was long overdue that he got activated from the practice squad. And if he's the one who gets the big takeaway, I will be thrilled because I love Landon Collins. And I do hope he's another one of those guys that we can bring back next year on another 1-year deal. But I think he's played well enough that other teams might give him a shot as well.
So that was the loudest cheer in the stadium is when he got that pick because that was a really good play. And me and Alex were going insane in the stands. Places going nuts when he ran that down for the touchdown for the pick six. Yeah, he's back, and I think he's in a position where he'll be comfortable in, and he suits Wink Martindale's system. So, yeah, I'm looking for him to have a good game. I'm looking for him, Jihad Ward, and our two other edge rushers, Aziz and Thibodeau, to wreak havoc. And, of course, there's going to be Sexy Dexy. Sexy's going to do something sexy. There's no question about it.
I would love to see it. Tony says he wants Brady eliminated. I don't know. I just
Not this week. I wanted to beat the Cowboys.
Get Dallas out of there, and then whoever Philly plays, let them get eliminated too. Likes up. Yes, please. If you're in here, haven't liked, hit that like button, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Tony then says he has a Bengals, Eagles. I don't want to get into Super Bowl picks just yet, but if you want to quickly, no, he's not going to be.
Whoa. What are you doing in here?
Get that junk out of here. Yeah, Alex.
Get out of here.
No one in their right mind is going to that joke. That is the Houston Texans.
But, he does bring up a good point because I think we should touch on this too. So Kafka has been announced as a candidate for the Carolina Panther head coach job. We've not heard anything about Wink yet, but you could imagine Wink is going to attract a lot of attention. Which one is untouchable for you? And how would you feel about, say, either of them leaving, both of them leaving, and if Kafka goes to Carolina?
I think if one of them is untouchable, I got to be honest, I know the easy choice would be Wink, right? But I feel like it has to be Kafka. Because if this offense is going to grow further, do you want to have another new offensive coordinator next year? I mean, I'm not saying I can see either choice, but I know that our defense, we have more pieces to be really good on defense than we do on offense. And I don't know if especially if we extend DJ, do we want to put him into, I know it's Dable's system, but we're obviously Kafka's calling the plays and we've been getting better and better as the weeks go on. Do we want to start over again with a quarterback on a brand new contract? Because even though it'll be the same type. No, every time there's a new coordinator, the offense will change at some capacity. So I don't know. Yeah, you can have him. Alex has
if you want a head coach, McGahee would be perfect for you guys.
Call a coaches meeting at the facility and lock the doors. Yeah, I don't want anyone leaving. But I think if there's one that I wouldn't want to see go for the sake of continuity for the offense, because again, we've been going through this every single year with the same quarterback with new offenses and it hasn't worked. I don't want to see another coordinator, another offense for Daniel Jones. I want something for once to stay. It's been a solid offense with the limited resources. I want it to grow with hopefully improved resources in year 2.
Well, this is where I can bring in my hot take. For me, Wink Martindale is absolutely the untouchable. For me, if you were to look at the list of the coaches that we have, and that includes Dable, Wink Martindale is number 1 for me. He has made the biggest difference. He has made the biggest difference. He has masterminded shutting down some of the best offenses. And just look at what we did against that Eagles team who couldn't score a touchdown against us. And that was their number 1 offense. Jalen Hurts, all their offensive guys out there, they couldn't score more than 22 points against our third-string team, third-string defense, practice squad defense, and they were getting in behind, and we should have won the game. We would have won the game had we even had our number 1s or number 2s playing. Wink Martindale did that. Wink Martindale shut down Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers couldn't do anything with him. Aaron Rodgers loves Wink Martindale. Well, of course, the Texans couldn't do anything, but the Texans can't do anything anyway, so that's good. Hey,
At that time.
The Ravens couldn't do anything. We have shut down some of the best offenses in the game, all because of Wink Martindale. Wink Martindale is absolutely untouchable. I would give him whatever money it would take in order to keep him as Dable's number 2. I want the two of them to be a partnership moving forward because what's the end of our montage? What is the end of our montage of our intro? Dable and Wink Martindale high-fiving. Those guys are like that. Those guys are a partnership. Those guys are going to take us to where we need to go. They could even take us to the promised land. So it's no disrespect on Dable that I'm saying that the most important coach I think that we have has been Wink Martindale just in terms of what he's meant to this defense because we had no secondary for much of the year. We've had our 2 best guys in the secondary getting hurt. We've had Kayvon out at the start of the year. We've had Aziz out at the start of the year, and we were still generating pressure. We're still winning games. And that a lot of it comes down to Wink Martindale's defense. So for me, whatever it takes, I have to keep a hold of Wink Martindale. I love that guy. I absolutely want to go to war with this guy. So that's where me and you differ, I think.
No, I completely understand what you're saying because I love Wink. Trust me, I'm not saying if I had to see one leave, I'd rather see Wink go. I don't want them going anywhere, and I don't think they will because if you remember, I know I don't want to bring up bad juju, but Joe Judge and Patrick Graham had a good thing after that first year, right? And Graham had some head coaching opportunities, and he didn't want to go. He wanted to stay. So I do think that Wink Martindale wants to see this thing through. Now, if he wants to take that opportunity, then he has every right to, right? If they grant him the ability to go interview and he says, I'm going to go take this head coaching job, all the power to him. I wish him the best of luck. Selfishly, I don't want him to take it. I want him to stay with it. I do think he wants to stay, and I do think Kafka wants to stay because it's 1 year. And I think that tells you something, though, that the fact that a team like the Panthers
– good point.
Who has a new coach, and they actually played pretty well with their interim coach, and they got a pretty solid production out of Sam frickin' Darnold, by the way, that they're looking at Kafka, who got really solid production out of Daniel Jones with such a limited group, and saying, we want this guy to be our head coach. I think that speaks volumes to what Kafka was able to accomplish this year, and it's only his first year, and we were criticizing him not too long ago. So I want to give a big shout out to Kafka. I think he deserves it, but and that's why I think if I had to choose who's more untouchable, to me, it's the offensive coach because I know I love Wink. And I know defenses win you championships. This is an offensive league, and I just don't want to see another new system. Now, if we don't move forward with DJ and they get a new quarterback, fine. If Kafka leaves and you want to have another new offense that's based around Dable, but this new guy brings in, that's okay. But for the sake of assuming DJ's back, I don't want to see another offensive coordinator in here. So,
tremendous point. You're spot on in the fact that the league is paying attention to the Giants' offense and they're crediting Kafka with Daniel Jones' turnaround, Saquon's resurgence after struggling last year, and the fact that our practice squad receiving core are making plays. I can't say enough about Kafka. I would still put a lot of it down to Dable. I think Dable's been a miracle worker.
Yeah.
I think he is a miracle worker. I think Daniel Jones' turnaround is actually Dable. I think Dable holding him to account, holding him to a high standard, holding everyone to a high standard has turned this whole thing around. And so for me, Brian Dable has to be the coach of the year, but I think it's his offense. So I wouldn't necessarily sweat too much Kafka leaving. I don't want to see him go because I do agree with you. You've got an excellent point there. But listen, if he wants to explore head coaching opportunities, I think he's qualified to do so. He's a lot more qualified to be the head coach of the Panthers than Joe Judge was the head coach of the Giants. And so I'd be quite interested to see how he does. I think he'd do fine. I think he's certainly a coach that's on the rise. I think he's only going to get better and better. So I'd love to see him stay an extra year, and I think he's going to go from strength to strength. He's worked out the kinks. The offense has been much better lately. But if he did leave, I'm not gonna lose too much sleep over that. I'd lose sleep over Wink leaving. But really, Alex is onto something there. We need to get rid of Thomas McGahee. Dude, I don't know how he's survived this long as a special teams coordinator. We've got a terrible special teams unit. It really is so bad. My God,
been a little bit better lately, but overall, it's just not very good. We don't get good kick returns, and our special teams coverage isn't necessarily great.
No.
So if there's one coach the Texans can have, like Alex says in the comment, he can go ahead and take him. Tony says next season Texans play the Jets and look forward to a bet with Luka. To be completely transparent, he brought the transparent line out there. Going to pick the playoff games for this weekend. I mean, we could.
Let's do it.
Let's do that real quick. How did the regular season results go? We didn't do the last week, so I don't want to. I don't think it'd be fair to be like, because I think I was in the lead, but we didn't pick the last week. So
I think you were like 5. I think you were 5 ahead. I sent it to you. I think it was like 92-87. I think in your favor.
Like that. Yeah, I was up by 4 or 5.
Yeah. I'm not turning around 5 in 1 week, so I'm happy to give the season pick championship to my guy, our co-host and the creator of this channel, my man Rob. And it was very fun meeting you, my man, a couple of days ago. I can't believe it was only a few days ago that we met.
It was about a week ago already, just about a week ago, and it was a hell of a lot of fun, man. And the best thing about it is I've known you for going on for almost 3 years, but over 2 years. Alex I've known for a little bit longer. Luka, I've known Nate for a little bit longer, and I've only spoke to Sean a few times. But when you first meet people, even though if you talk to them online, you first meet, it's kind of like a hesitant to kind of like be yourself and all that. It's like we've known each other for our whole lives. It was just right from the
brother
start.
From another mother.
Yep, joking around, having a good time, talking about the waiter, Prince, and just enjoying football, cheering our heads off for a Kenny Golladay touchdown in a meaningless football game. That's brotherhood right there, man. That's what football does, and that's why this whole YouTube thing, I don't know if it's ever going to take off. That'd be fantastic if it did, but I really couldn't care less if it didn't go to like some superstardom thing, because what we got going on here, that I can say I can talk football, talk about my favorite team with some damn good friends. That's all important to me. So it was a hell of a time meeting you guys, and I can't wait for the next time we do it. Maybe next year.
Well, the fact that this channel has jumped so much in 1 year shows I think it's going to continue to get better year on year. What does Alex say here? Awesome, even though Dollar Tree Prince was an asshole. Yeah, we had a waiter that looked like Prince, and he was so bad at his job, but he took pride in the fact that he was terrible at his job.
It took longer to pay than it did to eat.
It took an hour to pay. He kept going away. He refused to separate the bill. He made a big fuss about anything that was ever asked of him. I asked for onion rings. I never got onion rings, and I got charged for onion rings. I asked for a burger. I never got a burger. In fact, I had nothing for a long period of time, and I was just sitting there. And he took pride in the fact that he was terrible in his job. So kudos to Dollar Tree Prince.
Yeah, I at one point I called him an extra from Thriller. I don't even think he deserves that because Thriller's a hell of a song and it's a really cool video too. So he doesn't deserve that either. Donald had the medium rare wings. That's right. Yeah, medium rare.
That's
wings.
right. I asked for a burger. I was like, "Can I have a cheeseburger, please?" He's like, "Wings? Would you like small or large?" And I was like, He's like, I was thinking, is he asking me if I want a small or large burger? I was like, well, a large one, obviously. He's like, okay, so large, medium rare wings. I'm like, what? And the thing was, he stood at the other end of the table in a busy sports bar where everyone's screaming, everyone's shouting at the televisions. And he's deliberately stood as far away from me as possible, deliberately got the order wrong, even though he could have walked 3 paces just towards me, and then we could have gotten it all done. But no, he wouldn't do it because he took pride in the fact he was bad at his job, and I almost give him grudgy credit for that. He's like, I'm an asshole, and I love it. So, my guy.
He definitely doesn't sing Purple Rain. He's more like Green Hail or something. So I don't know. He ain't Purple Rain. He ain't Prince. He's just a wannabe. But look, if we want to. Let's get back on track a little bit here and not talk about Great Value Prince anymore.
Yeah, well, there's other. So yeah, we've touched on the coordinators. I really hope we keep all of them, and we absolutely have to give Dable Coach of the Year. Guy's just a freaking magician. Absolutely love that man. My next question to you is, what were your thoughts on Dable resting everyone against the Eagles? Because this is kind of an interesting topic because there's different sides to it. So let's bring it up now because considering we've been out of the game for a couple of weeks because we're all on vacation and Christmas and New Year and happy holidays to everyone. So yeah, let's pick up on this question now. How did you feel about it?
Well, I told you when you asked me at the bar, I said I was kind of on both sides. I can see why they're doing it because we don't really have the luxury of let's just go out and fight the Eagles and put our regulars in. And God forbid somebody re-aggravates an injury or gets hurt, then we already have a pretty low talented squad compared to a lot of the other teams in the playoffs, that if we lose one person, it can be catastrophic for this team. So I understood why a lot of people are like, no, rest them. Don't play the starters. However, I was able to watch 2007 from start to finish, as a lot of fans were. Donald was as well. I don't know if Alex was old enough to watch 07, but I know how important that last game was for the Giants Super Bowl run because we went toe-to-toe with the historic Patriots when no one thought we would, and we rode that momentum in a loss to a Super Bowl. So I understood where people were saying, if you go up against Philly, who's the number 1 seed, a team that could have very well been undefeated if not for if Jalen Hurts doesn't get injured and the refs don't screw them over against Washington, they could have been undefeated, right? If you went toe-to-toe with them, even if you lost with your starters in, you can ride that wave into the playoffs. So if you do see them a third time, like we saw Dallas a third time that year in 07, and we beat them. So maybe that can work in your favor. However, 07's roster was a lot more equipped to go on a run than this one is. So I understand people wanting to say, go fight them. But I think we played it safe, and I think it was the right decision. I'm leaning more towards Dable. I like the decision because I think we still, even in a losing effort with the 2s and 3s, we learned a lot about the coaching, first of all, and about the depth of this team, that maybe we have a little more depth than we initially thought. So I think even at the end of the day, our guys stayed fresh. Saquon's ready to go. He can't wait to go out there. Our guys are all healthy, and our backups played pretty well. And we got some confidence, even in a losing effort, going forward into the playoffs. I think it all worked out.
So I wouldn't have had Davis Webb start.
Right.
I don't understand the jump from Jones to Davis Webb. Even though Davis Webb played fine in the second half, he was overmatched in the first half. I think the Giants would have actually won the game if Tyrod Taylor started.
It would have been closer. I don't know if they would have won.
It would have been closer. I think he would be more I think he's more NFL. I think he's more of an NFL quarterback than Davison Webb is. I would have had a couple more guys involved that's going to play an impact against the Vikings. I would have mixed it in a little bit. And not have our starters play every down, obviously, but I kind of mixed it around. I would have mixed it in a little bit. I was good with resting Saquon. That absolutely had to happen. I was good with resting our main receivers. I think that had to happen too. I was good with resting our key guys, the guys that are absolutely we cannot win without. Kayvon, Sexy Dexy. I'm good with resting those guys. And McKinney and those are the key guys. I think the key guys all needed to rest. I think that was the right thing to do. I'm okay resting Daniel Jones too. I think he's been beaten up a lot over the year. He's taken a lot of hits. It's good that he got a week off too. And just look at our injury report. It's clean as a daisy. It's absolutely beautiful. Nobody on it. So if that's your answer, I guess that's our answer right there. The thing is, Tom Coughlin was asked about it recently, about his thoughts, because no one's gonna know better than Tom Coughlin, the Giants' GOAT of coaches, in my opinion. He was asked about it because he was the guy that decided to play our starters against the Patriots in that game you referred to. He said, Brian Daboll will know his team better. He says, it was right for my team to play our starters, but Daboll will know what's best for his team. And that was a very good answer. And so I think that's how we could close that debate. Daboll will know better than we can. He will see in training and in practice, week in, week out, he'll be like, these guys need a break. It's been a long year. 17 games is a long season now. That extra game is a long year now. That's going to take guys out, and we want to be rested and refreshed. And probably a full week of studying the Vikings probably is a very smart thing to do. So I can totally see them doing it. I just would have mixed in a few more regulars because I would have loved beating the Eagles, because when we were getting kind of whitewashed in the first half and we couldn't move the ball, I was starting to think, what are we really learning from this? I'm not learning anything about this team doing this, just lying down to the Eagles. But we played really well in the second half, so a lot of those concerns that I had in the first half were kind of erased. So, yeah, I can see both sides. Bill's definitely in favor of resting everyone. First week since March when no one's injured. I'm good with it. Alex was good with resting the starters as well. So, listen, the proof is in the pudding. Our third string team took the Eagles all the way and actually were an onside kick away from beating them. So that's pretty cool. If we got the onside kick and scored, we would have beaten the Eagles with our third string team, which would have been unbelievable. I still think that we could have beaten them with our second string quarterback and a few more starters, kind of mixed in, not playing every down, just kind of mixed in when needed. I would have preferred to have done that, but it's kind of by the by at this point. At the end of the day, our coaches are going to know better than we can who needs to rest. So I think that was probably the right call at the end of the day. But we're not going to know until we play the Vikings. If we play the Vikings and we're refreshed and we're ready to go and we're hitting them hard and we're making plays, then this is a non-discussion. It was the right thing to do. But if we play slow out of the blocks and we look a little bit rusty, then you could point to it and go, you know what, we probably should have maybe mixed in our starters a little bit more than we did. But that's the choice that had to be made. I think it was probably the smartest choice because I've never seen us have a 0 injury record. And that's very unheard of in the NFL at this time of year.
No, I think both you can argue both sides, and I don't think there's a wrong or right answer, But I think if Tom Coughlin says it, then I'm going to listen to Tom Coughlin before I listen to, Michael on Twitter. I'm not going to listen to some guy on Twitter over Tom Coughlin. That's a pretty obvious choice who I'm going to listen to there. But let's before we get to we haven't even done our score predictions yet, but let's pick these games, the rest of the playoff.
I was going to ask you, what did you think of Kenny Golladay? Is he going to have a big game now after that incredible touchdown?
No. I want.
Oh, let's be positive here. That was a hell of a freaking catch.
It was nice to see finally. It only took 2 years, literally 2 full seasons, but he got one against Darius Slay. Look, if that's his last catch as a New York Giant, because I don't even think that there's no way he's brought back next year unless
No.
he takes a significant pay cut.
No, he's gone.
Yeah, if that's his last catch, then great. At least we got one fun moment out of it, because that's really all we can say, because everything else it's been a bad contract. I still don't say it was a bad signing. It turned out to be bad, but oh no. Over who? Over Richie James? Because that's my pick to win receiver of the week or top receiver. Is it going to be
I like his attitude, because when he's playing amongst a bunch of third stringers, you could pout and you could just be like, F all you guys. But he didn't actually. He actually played pretty hard. And especially in that situation where the Giants were down 2 scores, he jumped up like a great white shark hitting a seal. He jumped up, made a great catch, and then somehow kept his 2 feet in bounds under immense pressure at the corner of the end zone. That was an unbelievable catch. So I have to give him his flowers for that. It really was an awesome catch. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does one thing that's semi-beneficial on Sunday.
Let's see, they moved him backwards again. See?
Oh, well, forget what I just said. No, I think he might make a catch. I think he might make a catch. 1 catch, maybe 2 at the most. I think he might have his confidence up a little bit.
It was 1 catch, Tony, but he also probably be like your second leading receiver at this point. But let's pick these.
What was their number 1?
It was Brandon. Did Cooks even play the rest of the season because he wanted to get traded?
Everyone's irrelevant in the Texans.
Well, he is the irrelevant fan. So, Tudo. What's up to Tudo? He's massive salutes and respects to the big boss, Robbie and Donnie, Alex, and all diehard Giants fans in the building. What's up, Tudo? Always a pleasure to see you here as we get to the tail end of the show. So before we pick the Giants-Vikings score, let's go through it. Tomorrow, we got the first 2 games. We got the Seahawks and the 49ers. I'm taking San Francisco.
I am also taking San Francisco. Should we do a score prediction for that one?
Nah, let's just pick. We're going to save our score predictions for the Giants game. If we're out next week, then we can try to predict scores for the rest of the way through. But next on the Saturday game, the 8:15, Chargers-Jaguars. The Chargers will be without Mike Williams. He got hurt, as something Bill mentioned earlier. I want to take the Chargers, but I think I'm going to take Jacksonville.
I'm exactly the same as you. I want the Chargers to win because they're a better team. I want to see Justin Herbert. I want to see my boy Eckler. I love my man Eckler. He's definitely one of my favorite players in the league. I just don't love their head coach. And I think the Jaguars' coaching's better. And I don't know. They just seem a little bit stronger. And I think their defense their pass rush is better than the Chargers' pass rush. So with that reason, I think the Jaguars will pull off a shock. I think it's going to be a toss of the coin. I think it's going to be a very tight game, low-scoring game. But I can see the Jaguars edging it by like 3 or 4 points.
It would be this next one. It sucks because if Tua was healthy, this could be a real fun game. Dolphins-Bills. The Bills have the largest point spread in this week coming up, 13.5-point favorites, and I think that's deserved because if you look at the way the Dolphins played last week against the Jets, with whoever the hell that guy is at quarterback, Skylar Thompson, I don't see any way they can beat Buffalo.
As you say, if Tua was fully healthy and he hadn't had multiple concussions, I would look for the Dolphins to pull off a shot, but because they looked like a legit team for the first half of the year, and then shit's gone haywire with them. They're going to get absolutely ridden like Seabiscuit by Buffalo. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be like 3 or 4 scores. They'll probably be 3 scores up at halftime, and they'll probably rest their starters. It's going to be that. It's going to be that significant. So I think the Bills are going to absolutely ride them like Seabiscuit.
Another game where the quarterback for the visiting team will be out. The Ravens and Bengals.
I mean, it's no question. I think the
Yeah.
Bengals are going to ride the Ravens like Seabiscuit too. There's going to be a lot of riding going on.
And then we wrap it up with
What was that? Is that your prediction too?
Oh yeah, I'm not taking them. Ravens. If Lamar was playing, I might take them, but
Yeah.
even then I don't want to pick against the Bengals because that's my Super Bowl pick.
Yeah.
This next one though, Cowboys Bucks. Tom Brady has not lost to the Cowboys before. Does that trend continue?
That's why I'm taking the GOAT. I think the GOAT somehow managed to back his way into the playoffs. Had no business doing so. They've been a bad team all year long. But Brady had a big game when they needed him to. He threw for like 434 yards and 4 touchdowns that got them into the playoffs. Again, barely deserved it. But for that reason, I could see them pulling off a shock. Another thing, the Cowboys are so overrated. They've been overrated for so long. It's absolutely a joke. Dak Prescott is very overrated as a quarterback, especially in the playoffs. And the Cowboys have – I can't remember the last time the Cowboys have actually been a relevant team in the playoffs. They always seem to crash out at this very stage. So I think the GOAT could do something special for one last hurrah as a Buccaneer. I think he'll be on another uniform next year. I think his last hurrah will be beating America's team.
Yeah,
And then once again, Skip Bayless will be crying about it and complaining and blah. So yeah, that would be wonderful. And the most overrated team in the history of sports will be unseated by the GOAT.
I agree with that. This is, I mean, again, there's a lot of games that you can say are easy picks because of the quarterback situation. The only one that I can really see being different is the Dallas. I do think there's a chance Dallas can win that game, and I can see the Chargers beating the Jaguars, but I can't see Seattle beating San Francisco because they look unstoppable. Seattle's playing well, but they played okay, but San Francisco's on another level. The Bengals, I don't see how they lose. I don't see how Buffalo loses to the freaking Dolphins. It's a weird, interesting week, but I'm here for the chaos. So if we get some upsets, that's all fine to me. Let's see what Alex said. The Seahawks win. We play Dallas. We play the winner of Dallas and Tampa Bay. Oh, that's right, because they're the lowest seed. That's right. So if we win and Seattle wins, yeah. If we win, if the 49ers win, we will go to play Philly. So now, let's wrap this up because we've been going for almost an hour and a half here. Our final score predictions for our game, the most important game in the Super Wild Card weekend. New York Giants, Minnesota Vikings. Donald, what is your final score prediction?
Right.
Tony,
I think we're going to win by one score. So give me 27-21 Giants.
Okay. Alex has 24-20, and Tony's still going with that overtime, which would be, I don't know if I can do another heart attack, but it is Giants football, so I'm picking the Giants. I think if there's one team that we can beat in this playoffs, it's nothing against Minnesota. I just think that because of their defense, we can score on them. Also, I would not be surprised in the slightest if we lose this game. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Nor would I be like pissed off or angry and say everything was all for naught. But I'm going to take the Giants, and I think it's going to be one of those nerve-wracking. I'm going to pull my hair out.
Oh, it's going to be very nerve-wracking. It's going to go right to the very last second.
It always does. We put 30 on them. We didn't put up 30 on them, but I'll take 30 this time. 32-24, says Bill. That'd be sweet. The OT rules are all – that's right. They changed the OT rules for the playoffs. However, Tony could still get his prediction correct. I'm going to say the Giants win in regulation 23-21. I think we're going to win on a last-second field goal. We get redemption. to win this game.
Oh my God. Could you imagine that?
Pride of Scotland himself. Yeah, the 30 points, Bill, was the Colt game. We put up 30 for the first time in, like, I don't know, since Alex has been watching football. We scored 30 points.
I do agree. It's gonna go right the last second. So if they win 27-21, I think the Vikings will be at the Giants' like 15-yard line. They're gonna throw it in the end zone, and it's gonna take us batting it down to win it. It's gonna be one of those heart in your mouth. I can't watch. It's gonna go right to the very last second. That I'm sure is gonna happen.
Right. So, although if we do lose, and I mentioned it earlier, if we lose this game and we put up a fight and we come out of it saying, "Man, this team's going to be really special moving forward," if we can come out of a loss and say we were right there, this season's been so special to me. I can't be upset about it. You know, I can't be just wallowing around and being like, "Man, the Giants are out." I'm going to be super excited for the offseason and what comes next. But that is going to wrap it up for us here at Nerding Out Sports. It's been good to be back. Donald had his great vacation, New York, Florida. It was great to see him, as we mentioned earlier. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Bill, Alex, Tony, Jeffrey, Tudo popped in for a little bit. It's always good talking football. It's always good talking New York Giants with you, my friend. So, hopefully next time we are talking about a Giants playoff win, because it'll be the first since 2012 Super Bowl. So a whole
thing I can
decade.
guarantee is even if our Giants end on Sunday, we will be always here all year long. We'll be breaking down everything. We're going to be continuing to grow this channel. It's only going to get better from here. So I'm very excited for the year ahead. I'm very excited. I'm reinvigorated. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to put a permanent place in New York very soon, I think. And I want to try and build this channel up with you, my man, and my other channels too. So I'm very excited for the season ahead, for the offseason ahead for the Giants. I think it's going to be a great offseason. I can't wait to deep dive in the draft. Let's get studying. Let's scout these guys. I want to scout the receivers, scout the guards and the secondary help and linebackers. I want to get deep dive into that, deep dive into free agency, because we'll have some salary cap. So we'll be breaking all that down for you, and we will have everything, whatever happens. Even if the Giants make it to the Super Bowl, we will be there every single week. So I'm really excited to break all that down. So big shout out to everybody, all our supporters, for being loyal to the channel over this past year.
Absolutely. And be sure to do all the good stuff. Hit the like button, share it out. You can tweet it, you can put it on any platform that you use, whatever it may be. But subscribe and follow all of us on Twitter, and follow the channels that are in the description. Of course, Alex is Big Blue in the Bronx, and Tony.
D-Hop to New York. Man.
No.
I like D-Hop.
I love D-Hop. I don't love his contract, though. And also, I want to end this for Tony.
Oh, I thought he was talking about me.
Oh, no. DeAndre
yeah,
Hopkins.
let's bring D-Hop to New York. I agree.
Let's bring Donald to New York, yes, but DeAndre Hopkins, we're not getting him. And Tony, no, they won't. So that's how I will end the show, by letting you know that, once again, your Texans will not be relevant next year. But in all seriousness, thank you all so much for joining us and watching. We will see you all very, very soon. Let's freaking go, Big Blue. Let's fucking go, New York Giants. Go take it home, boys.
Playoffs, baby.
Playoffs, baby. Let's go, G-Men. Peace out.